What are the limits of free speech? And remember that free speech is protecting you from what? Free speech laws protect you from who? The government. Very nice. Okay, they protect you from the government. They don't protect you from your classmate, right? Freedom of speech does not protect you from something your classmate will say to you or you reacting to your classmate saying something. It protects you from censorship by the government. You say something, the government cannot send the police to catch you and get you in trouble for what you said, unlike what's happening in the UK right now. But there are some limits, even in the US Constitution. So the US is the most free, has the most strongest protections for free speech. But even in the US, there are some limitations. What are the limitations? They're listed here, but just in your own words, what are the limitations of free speech? She mentioned number 2. What is the first one? First one you can see from this phrase. It's the same thing as if you go to the airport and you say, I have a bomb, right? You can't say that that's illegal or that is a ground for prosecution. So the police can catch you for this. They can come after you for this. Why? Because you present a clear and present danger. Same thing, originally it was you cry fire in a crowded theater. Why? Because you say fire, there's no fire. Everybody is going to run and try to get to the exit and step on people, and people will get hurt. Okay, so that's an example of clear and present danger. She mentioned eminent lawless action. What is 1, 2, 3, 4? Defamation and the word libel and slander, written and spoken defamation. So in Taiwan, actually defamation is illegal, but you could be prosecuted criminally for defamation. That's not the case in the US. You cannot be criminally prosecuted, but it's not protected. That means someone can still sue you for it. It's not protected. If I lie about Luke and I say, hey guys, Luke cheated on his test yesterday. Let's say it's a lie, let's say it's not true. That it would be defamation. If I know, number one, I know it's not true, and I did it to hurt him, to hurt his reputation, to hurt him, hurt his friendships or whatever. That's defamation. That is not protected. In the US, it's not protected. That means someone can sue me for this, saying this. In Taiwan, it's more extreme. Not only can they sue me for it, I can get criminal penalties for this. I think Taiwan should change this law. But basically the point is that even in the US, it's not protected speech. If you know you're intentionally lying about someone with the intent to hurt them. Okay, what about the next 3? Next 3, Jonathan. Obscenity. What is the obscenity clause? What? Too sexual, okay. Too sexual, too sexual, okay. All right, so if something is too perverse, right, then if your speech, your expression is too perverse, the question, of course, is who decides what is too much? This, of course, changes over time. 50 years ago, what they thought was too much is very different from what they think too much is nowadays. Right, so this changes over time. This one's the vaguest one, which I think should not be included in free speech limitations. Okay, next, true threats. True threats. I am going to kill you tomorrow. That's a threat. I'm threatening you. If you don't drop out of school, I'm going to bomb the class. Okay, that is a true threat. Okay, so same kind of thing. It has to be a realistic threat. Like if I say something stupid like, I'm going to blow up a country, okay? I can't blow the country, so it doesn't make any sense. But I can do something like set fire to a school, right? So if I say that, that would be counted as a true threat. Okay, last one. Fraud, perjury, blackmail. Okay, so the same kind of thing, it's self-expression, you're expressing yourself, but you are also doing something illegal by blackmailing somebody. Okay, so you are engaging in criminal conduct. You're using your speech to engage in criminal conduct, therefore that speech is not protected, and therefore you can be prosecuted. Okay, what about religious texts? Remember, one of the clauses is violent speech. Some parts of religious texts have violent innuendo, violent concepts, violent speech, violent implications, right? Violent directives. For instance, not to pick on anybody, but in Judaism, in the Old Testament, so Christianity has New Testament, Old Testament. Judaism also has the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, it talks about a woman who commits adultery. What should you do to a woman who commits adultery? Luke. If a woman, well, first of all, what's adultery? Julia, what's adultery?
Like being involved with someone else in your marriage.
Being involved outside your marriage, okay. Having sex outside your marriage, okay, adultery. What do you do to a woman who commits adultery? I know you. What do they do in the Old Testament / Torah? What did they do? In the old days, what did they do? Okay, what is that? Okay, but specifically, what kind of killing? Stoning. You take a stone, you throw it at the woman until she dies. Yeah. Okay. So that's what it does still say in the Old Testament or in the Torah. So that's kind of a violent speech, right? Is that protected or not protected? Not protected. But you can buy this book anywhere in the bookstore, right? So it is protected. So it is legal. The speech is legal, even though it has some violent implications. What is the difference? Here's the difference. Context. Context and intent. Intent. Just because you have violent messaging does not make the speech illegal, right? It has to be within context. Especially protected are historical documents. Historical and religious documents are mostly protected. Why? Because the context is 2,000 years ago. Nobody expects you to do this today. Nobody expects you to read the book and be like, okay, tomorrow we're going to go stone Julia. No one will think that, right? Even though it does say that, right? So that's why context matters. So even, like I mentioned before, if you post about wanting to overthrow the US government, maybe the FBI will look into your record, but that's not illegal. It's not illegal to say that. It falls under the protection of free speech laws. It only crosses over into illegal speech when you make a plan. When you're like, okay, tomorrow we're all going to meet together, we're going to overthrow the government. Then it becomes illegal. But just the violence itself is not illegal. What about fake news? Fake news, is that protected speech or unprotected speech? Unprotected? All right, but there is fake news. You can find fake news all the time. In some countries, maybe you will crack down. I'm sure China cracks down on it. But in the US, right, you're not prosecuted for fake news. Why not? Why not? Does that make sense? Like there's no boundary? But the problem is, who decides what is fake news? Do you remember the whole controversy over like vaccines? Facebook, vaccines, COVID, and Facebook would like delete your account if you posted about COVID. Maybe you said COVID came from China, which probably was the case. But if you posted that, Facebook would delete, maybe would block your account before. Now they don't do this anymore. But because they said, oh, that's fake news, so you cannot post it here. Actually, fake news is not counted as illegal speech according to the Constitution, so you can say whatever you want. But remember, there's a difference between what the government allows, or what the government cannot prosecute, and what social media allows. It's different, right? Different standards. But anyway, the point is, who decides what fake news is? So if you post something, let's say some conspiracy theory, let's say the government can just decide, oh, that's fake news, we're going to block you, we're going to get you in trouble, right? So it's risky. Fake news has some problems because it can make people confused. It can make people question what reality is. But the danger in banning fake news is that you give the government too much power because they can just decide whatever they want is fake news. What about hate speech? So we already went through this. The US does not have hate speech laws. Some countries, Poland, Vietnam, hate speech laws. Yeah, so they've got some hate speech laws. Indonesia, hate speech laws? You do? Sometimes, yeah, so sometimes it depends who's in power. So if somebody's in power and you say a bad thing about the other group, you'll be fine. If you say something bad about their group, then you'll get in trouble. All right, so it depends who's in power. Okay, but what about hate speech? Do you think there should be restrictions? Do you think there should be restrictions? Do you think there should be restrictions against hate speech? Remember, what is hate speech? Hate speech is speech directed towards a particular group or identity. It's not to a person. It's not called hate speech if you just hate Luke, okay? That's hate Luke speech, right? If you hate Luke, that's not hate speech. Hate speech is in relation to a group identity. I hate Vietnamese people. I hate straight people. I hate women, okay, like this, groups, okay? Should there be hate speech laws, yes or no? You're struggling? You're struggling over this?
I don't like the word restriction.
You don't like restrictions.
It's against freedom.
So you want freedom.
Yeah, because like we need restrictions.
Yeah, so that is always a tricky balance, right, between freedom and restriction, right? Where is the balance? You want freedom, but you also realize that sometimes we need restrictions. Where is that balance? That's your job, that's what you're gonna write about. You're gonna write, if you choose number two is write about what you think the limits of free speech should be. Where do you think that line should be? Okay, and remember, as we mentioned, there's a difference between free speech laws, which protect you from the government, and public sphere policies. Okay, this is social ramifications or consequences for your speech. This is not the same, those are different things. So if I say something that's protected speech, the government cannot come after me. But I might still get fired. But you might still not want to be my friend, right? If I say something that is hateful. But the government cannot get me in trouble for this. I cannot go to prison just because I said some bad things about people. But you might not be my friend. My boss might fire me. I might get kicked out of school, right? So you have social consequences for your actions, for your speech, right? It's different. Now, questions for you. These are questions for you. What should the line be? What should the line be for your business? Like, let's say you are an employee. Okay, actually, we'll use you as students. Okay, you're students of Minchuan. Is there something that you shouldn't say, or something that would validate the school kicking you out of Minchuan? What is something that you might say that, or a speech is not just words that you say, it includes pictures, posts on social media, includes videos, all this is included in speech. Is there something that you might say that the school will then have a right to kick you out of Minchuan for? What? Give me an example. Racist speech. Okay, so let's say you have racist speech. Can Minchuan kick you out of school? Actually, I don't really know what the rules are. Minchuan has a handbook of rules, right? I didn't actually read the book, but I'm sure they have some rules. I'm not sure exactly what they are. But okay, so you think, should they do this? Should they have this right? They say yes? Okay, but what counts as racist speech? How much? What if you're joking? What if... Okay, so the person is not offended, then it's okay. Okay, still trying to trick you out. So that's a little bit tricky. We don't know exactly where that line is. What counts as offensive or racist speech, and what counts as saying it in a joking way versus in a serious way. All right, so it's hard to find that line sometimes. Is there anything else? Julie, got anything else? Pro-China propaganda. If you have pro-China propaganda in school, can the school kick you out? If you came to school and you wore a shirt that said like "One China," Xi Jinping is the best, or I don't know what is pro-China propaganda. But if you came to school wearing that shirt, should the school be allowed to tell you like go home and change your clothes? You say yes? Maybe? Provoking people, okay, that's another thing too. Maybe the speech is okay, but the school is worried that you will make Taiwanese people angry and they want to like hit you, so to protect you and to not have violence in the school, they will ask you to change your clothes. Okay, so it's not really a free speech issue, it's more of like a safety issue. But should be a difference, right? Because Minchuan is a private school, so they can make their own regulations. To be honest, I'm not sure what the regulations are. I don't know if political speech is one of the regulations of each one. Not suggesting you should try it, but. Okay, now, what about the social consequences of free speech? Remember, there's a difference between free speech and law, which protects you from government censorship, and social consequences of free speech. What are some examples? So for instance, you said if you say something racist in H1, maybe the school will get you in trouble, give you some demerit points, or maybe if you keep on doing it, they might kick you out. What are other social consequences of this speech? Let's say you go on Facebook and you write this on Facebook. What are some social consequences? All right, like, yeah. So maybe you'll lose friends, right? Maybe some friends will unfriend you. Oh, okay, that's a good point. Yeah. You want to get a job as a journalist in the future, but if someone, looks up online and sees that you said all these things before, then it might impact your ability to get a job. Okay, so not only will you might get in trouble by the school, you might get in trouble because your friends don't want to be friends with you anymore. You might get in trouble because your future employee and the employer doesn't like the things that you've written before. Now, where is the line? Where does it turn into cancel culture? Do you know cancel culture? Okay. Where is the line between acceptable repercussions, acceptable consequences for speech, and cancel culture? Where is that line? So for instance, I guess most of us accept that there are some consequences for your speech, right? There are some times where it's okay that you're fired for saying something. There are sometimes. It's okay if you get kicked out of H1 for something you said, right? It's okay sometimes. But where's the line? Because if you go too far, right? Too far, and then it becomes cancel culture. It becomes a culture where everybody's getting fired for the smallest thing. So where's that line? Where is that line? How do you define that line? And does the line keep changing depending on the culture of society?